And these are my 110 scale 2-wheel drive dune buggies that I converted from Associated Pro SC10 short course trucks by adding cages from an Element Gatekeeper and an Axial RR10 bomber. Let's get this cage off and show you how you can build your own RC dune buggy. And the cool thing about this project is that you don't need to be a fabricator to actually do this. Most 110 scale short course trucks and buggies can be converted with pretty much any of these off-the-shelf cages. So let's go over to the computer and show you guys what you'll need to actually do this yourself. And step one is going to be getting an RTR 2-wheel drive short course or buggy. I started out with a 2-wheel drive Associated SC10, but most all short course and buggies will work for this type of mod. So step two is a way to protect the chassis and ESC from dirt and debris and sand. And a cool part that I found is called Outwears Prefilter, and it's designed for the older SC10, but the chassis are so similar that it works on this. Any off-road 2.2, 3.0 tire will work, but if you want to sling some sand, you're gonna need a good quality paddle tire and a ribbed front set. 110 scale short course trucks use a 2.2, 3.0 SC style wheel and tire, and on this bomber sand rail, it has the new J Concepts animal paddles on a version 1 Losi Baja Ray rim, and up front it's got the Associated rib tires also on some Baja Ray wheels. And on this Element Gatekeeper buggy, it's running the Proline Mohawks up front on some version 1 Baja Ray rims, and then some Proline slingshots in the back. And one of the reasons that I've been using these Baja Ray rims is because they're so flexible compared to some of the other rims. I think it's a little more forgiving when you sling these things in the sand and when they're loaded up with paddles. So it's just something that I've had some good luck with, and I've been sticking with it. So we'll take this Gatekeeper cage off and show you guys this Outwears Prefilter. And this is the Prefilter right here, and it's just Velcroed onto the bottom of the chassis. I'll show you guys that in a second. Let me get this off here to show you. And the way that you mount these Outwears filters, we're just using some 3M outdoor Velcro, and I cut that to fit the chassis plate, remove the short course little side bumpers, and then run that Velcro all the way up to the front. And then I put a little piece of Velcro up front so that when you bunch up the nose, it has something to grab up there. And even if you don't go in the sand, these Outwears Prefilters I think are a great option just to keep dirt. I mean, these things kind of work as like a little bathtub when you go through any kind of grass or tan bark and end up filling up. So I think it's a little spendy, but I think it's a good option to have that on your vehicle. And one of the easy ways to change the CG on this car is just by moving the battery forward and back. So they come from the factory with a little piece of foam up front, and I just remove that, and then I add a piece of Velcro down in there and put a piece of Velcro on the battery so that I can move the battery forward and back to adjust the CG for jumping. And you know, at one time I did have both of these buggies decked out with like hopped up Savox servos, and I ended up just throwing the stock ones back in because I needed those servos for another project. And I have to say, for the purpose of just being like a beach basher and just kind of like a fun RC to go rip around, I think these servos are doing a great job. They've held up really well. I've taken them out to the sand a bunch of times. They've been out to the dunes. And I think that the servo savers probably help these things destroying themselves multiple times. So I don't really see a reason to upgrade the servo unless you're going to be doing like, you know, straight up racing in a league. And this buggy is still on the stock ESC and stock motor, and it has plenty of power tugging around this cage. And this bomber buggy does have an upgraded hobby wing system, which I can show you in the other dune buggy video. This is that exact buggy right there. And one of the cool things about this project is that both of these cars are using off-the-shelf cages that I jacked from other vehicles that were modified and cut with a Dremel tool and an X-Acto knife to fit the size of the chassis and clear the shock towers. And you guys can see on the bottom of the body, it's really rough. We just took some straight wire cutters and X-Acto knife and just kept trimming until it would actually fit. And then on this post right here, we just used an X-Acto knife and cut on that to remove those little body post sections. And the same thing up front, it's just really rough cuts, but this is all hidden once you get the body mounted up. And one of the crucial mods I would say is some of these J Concepts bleeder shock caps. So it gives you the ability to bleed the shocks properly, and it's just a good quality metal cap. And then because of the weight of the cage, we're having to run a few spring retainers up in the front. Most of the Pro SC10 setup sheets say that you should run the arms level. So when the cage and the battery's all in this, we don't want it sagging because it's a bunch of added weight. So another cool thing we've been doing is kit bashing these light bars. This is an Axial Universal 5-pod, and then I used some RC 4-wheel drive Casey lenses glued in, and then I kit bashed some of the roll bar mounts. And it's just a cool thing that we've been doing some of the rigs lately, and it's been proven to be super durable, and I think it looks terrific. And we're running another fluorescent paint job. This is Tamiya fluorescent green, fading into some Tamiya fluorescent yellow, and that's also got that metallic purple splatter. And I thought this was a crazy thing. So there's been a lot of naysayers about using the truck bed coating, and I just wanted to point out that this interior set is actually not painted. It's 100% Rust-Oleum truck bed coating. And you could fool me if you actually look at some of the detail. It looks like straight paint. But if we pull that thing off the bottom, you can see the whole body is actually Rust-Oleum truck bed coating. So another cool detail we did is took the injection molded little cast parts off of this cage, took them out, and just sprayed them with some aluminum chrome spray paint. And we're just running the RR10 taillight, and these are some vintage Axial lenses that I just painted with some Tamiya paint. And then we took the fuel cell, which actually sits much further back, and then kind of connected that into where the shocks usually bolt up for this bomber cage. I actually used the articulated hood section where you pull these pins out, and it allows the body to actually rotate up just like the other buggy that we did, and it kind of flexes on those same body posts. So it allows us to get easy access for the battery change. And it's just a similar setup. It just makes it super easy. You can just grab the cage, get in here, do your battery, change all your stuff, and then it comes down and hooks up to the same shock tower mount as the other Element Gatekeeper cage. So another cool trick that we've been doing on these RC pre-runners is one of these custom pinion covers to make the spur cover so it clears. When we upgraded the motor system in this thing, it had a 5mm motor shaft bore, and it made it so that we couldn't use the spur cover. So I just took this little cup made for Dremel bits, used some E6000 and glued it on the side, so that allows us to run the spur cover but also go up in pinion size. These RC cage dune buggies are some of the most fun that I've had with the RTR, and they don't break the bank. They're portable and they're easy to repair, and they're an absolute blast to drive. Even if you don't got access to sand dunes or any kind of beaches, you could just throw a standard set of off-road tires, and it's still some of the most fun you can have RTR. I can't wait to get these buggies out and do some ripping again. I appreciate all the support. Hit that like and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.
Controlled hovercraft in the world. The Typhoon hovercraft blasts over the ground on a cushion of air. You command the Typhoon by radio control. 3 powerful turbo motors for straight line speed. Do a 360. Now, Typhoon hits the water. Incredible. The RC that runs on land and water. Typhoon. You've got the turbo power to handle anything. Typhoon and Mini Typhoon. The only 9.6V radio controlled hovercrafts in the world from Tyco.